Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party. My buddy Rhett. We skipped yesterday because I was out of town. There you go, Rhett. I got her an almond. So yeah, I was in Tennessee, and my wife was at a convention, a Tumblr convention, and it was really cool. We got to stay with some really nice people in their house and sort of see how they live and how they view things and what they watch on TV and stuff like that. It was really, really fascinating. Now they exclusively use YouTube, and like in their world, like honestly, like if you even talk about like another platform, they just dip. They aren't even hearing it. Like so, they use YouTube exclusively. The unpaid version, and so yeah, they get ads and they watch 90%. I would say 90% of what they watch is like crime, unsolved crime stuff, and then like 10% is just sort of like occult kind of like ghost hunters, that kind of thing. And that's all they do. That's all the content they really consume. Um, and that was very, very interesting. And it was fun to talk to them. I had a really good time. They made some delicious food that we ate, and we got to spend the night there, and they had really neat little dogs. It was fun. And the trip was like crazy because usually what happens when I go on a trip is if it's after an hour or so, I'll just hop onto my laptop and just start coding something. And this time I literally just sat there just taking in the scenery for like 4 solid hours, just chatting with my wife, taking in the scenery. I did not. I only got up my computer one time over the whole time, and that was they had a 13-year-old grandson there, and he was into coding. He was very has a lot of interest in coding, so I was trying to teach him some stuff. And he had never been exposed to the command line before, things like that. It was freaking crazy how fast he picked it all up. But we did have like a really bizarre conversation about domains, like web domains, and he was like, "No, web domains are like the things that you understand." And I'm like, and he was actually talking about. I didn't realize until like I was driving home. I was like, "Oh, he's talking about like the domain of whatever you're working on." So it was interesting because that caused some interesting wires to get crossed. He was very careful. Like he knew a lot more than he would let on that he knew. So that was interesting. But anyway, so I'm working on unit tests. I would definitely say that this application, one of the main reasons, one of the points, I guess, would not reasons, but one of the points of the application was to learn ThreeJS, and we haven't even really considered even put a single thought into 3GS in quite some time. And the reason is because I've been like heads down deep in the weeds of unit testing, and unit testing has then put me deep into the weeds of like sort of questioning everything I think I understand about software development. And I definitely, as part of that sort of practice, I've come to the conclusion that I have some huge gaps in arrays and the array functions, all the array functions and all that. And that's because I never needed them because I learned other techniques that work. But sort of as time goes by, the people who those techniques make sense to are diminishing very quickly. And the people who those techniques don't make sense to are growing. And so it's just kind of like, okay, I need to sort of re-evaluate my thoughts around arrays and how you work with arrays and things like that. And one of the things that dawned on me the yesterday or maybe the day before yesterday was arrays. The arrays have a feature. I want to call it a new operator. I don't know, a method called for each, but it's not really new. It's like I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know exactly what the date is, but like I know that JavaScript came into existence in 1996, and I don't know when the for each came into existence. So let's actually chat GPT. So here I am off, and this is all because of 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 unit tests. Unit tests have turned my domain from ThreeJS into coding. But uh, when was for each added to JS? Now there's a kind of a thing because it's like there's a point where they do where they describe what it's going to do and all that, and it becomes like an accepted behavior. And then there's a time when it's actually available in the browsers, and those are different. So 2009 for each. December of 2009 was added to ECMAScript 5. So that was, in fact, 16 years ago, right? So 10 years ago was, yeah, 16 years ago it was added. And then JavaScript was added in 1996. So JavaScript was like 13 years old. So yeah, so of the majority of time that JavaScript has been around, um, for each has been around. So I keep wanting to call these like new operators, and it is a method. I feel like those were called operators. I actually want to ask that. Is for each an operator? No, for each is not an operator. For each is a method, specifically operator no, keyword no, statement no, looping construct no. Um, so operators are something like, so operators just kind of fall under, it's kind of weird because like they're not defining what an operator is. They're giving examples of operators. I mean, so anyways, but it dawned on me a couple days ago that for each is something that you want to do something for each of them. So if you wanted to sort of mutate every object in some way for every one of them, then you probably want to call for each. But I don't even remember exactly what I was trying to do, but I have this while loop that is trying to do something. And I even remember saying at the time when I decided I wanted to do a while loop, I was like, this is a disaster of like you always end up with you always end up with like infinite loops and stuff like that. And so anyways, so basically I want to get the next available top. And so and I guess it does this. It determines the next available top by determining if the current row can accommodate the visualization. And it has a function that says available row. So an available row just returns or true or false, and it just keeps calling available row until it finds one. And the assumption is that eventually it will find one. Or it won't find one. So eventually it's going to look in there and it's not going to find one. And when that happens, then we're going to set it to whatever the current height of that visualization is. So I'm just going to kind of repeat that one more time for my own, trying to sort of lock it in. Let me go localhost. Just sort of wrap my mind around this thing. All right, so we add a visualization. There is row. This isn't available. This row is available because there's room for it, for a new one. Now that's just information that I just know. You can't get that information from this function, which I guess that is a bit of a problem, right? So get available top, and we hand it a visualization. And basically, so we're trying to assign the next visual available top. Now we're not trying to get the next visual. Well, no, okay, we are not trying to assign it. We are literally trying to get the next visual available top. Now the question is like, we return something called a row, which is actually a number. So I think that naming is making this confusing. So I feel like this is valuable work, right? It is valuable work. Is it useful work? I don't know. I really don't know. Is the process of digging into a function and analyzing the whether the function makes sense and all that, is that a bad thing to practice? No, that's a very good thing to practice. Is it good for this project? No, it's terrible for this project. It's killing this project. Um, so I just don't even know what to think, because like I'm torn. There's a part of me that says, hey, look, I don't give a crap. I just want a cool thing that builds cool visualizations. And then there's a part of me that's just like, dude, you're a professional, um, and you're trying to become better at what you do. You're have a record of being very good at what you do, so it's getting harder and harder to become better. But and this is a nice tool for getting better. Um, so, anyways, okay. So current row I think is a bad name, and I think uh, I think I called this a top, so top is probably what we're actually returning, a top. And then we are returning a top. And then everywhere we're going to call it a top. Now, who knows what it gets named, where we receive it, and do we want to dig in? It, definitely an argument can be made that, oh, should we go now look at is available, and then is row available, and change that to is top available? Definitely an argument can be made for that. Is it a useful thing to do? I don't know. Probably. And I remember when I worked at CNN, I used to have this architect that I would work with, and he would be like, this was his favorite thing to do. He would go look through code, and he'd be like, that really should be top. And then it'd be like, okay, and then I would change it to top. And then he would look it over and go, see, shouldn't this be is top available? And then we'd be like, okay, let's change it. And we'd be doing this at like 10 o'clock at night on a Friday night, so that it could go into a PR on Monday, or so that it could go get merged in on Monday. And so then it'd be like, is top available? And then we'd slowly start refactoring the whole damn thing. And then we'd always end up taking code that was working perfectly and turning it into code that was broken. Because then it would be like, he would say, well, can you change this to is top? And I would boom, hit save, push it, and then next thing you know, 15 minutes later, you'd be like, well, shouldn't this be named top? And we would literally make all these changes that just would literally sooner or later we just make one mistake. So is next available top. Get next available top. And we set the top to 0, we return the top. Sort of ignore the fact that this function makes no sense now. See, I think row does have room, makes sense. Because now, see, I think our entire, it would be nice, it would be very, very nice if we could maintain the same sort of symbolism, right? So now we're talking of tops. But then we get over here and that whole top concept becomes a row. And it'd be nice if we stay with the exact same symbolism, but I think the symbolism of a row makes more sense in this context, and of a top makes more sense in that context. And that flexibility, mental flexibility, is very, very difficult, because this is the point where suddenly a top, which is by default a position, becomes a row, which is by default sort of a whole topic thing. And so basically, we change, and I don't know. Is that worth thinking about? I don't know. Um, I think in programming we're going through a massive change, and that happens all of the time. And I don't even think it's just limited to programming. I think this is happening throughout all of society. We're going through this massive change, and um, yeah, as we're in this sort of weird flux, um, you kind of have to. It's hard, and you kind of have to go through this sort of mental teardown of what you believe and rebuild of new beliefs, um, and that is very very difficult for people. I think that in Hitchhiker's Guide, in the movie Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, they do a great job where they're in like a spaceship, and then all of a sudden like all contexts have to change, and everything's changing, and it's just like they do such a great job of visualizing what is happening here. Um, like we are changing from a top to a row, and that's difficult. But it feels like it's necessary. I don't think we can maintain the top concept the whole time, but we can't maintain the row concept the whole time. And there's some point we have to change that concept. So, anyways, so basically we're saying found. So I guess we should. It'd probably be a little bit easier if we. And again, you kind of have to acknowledge to yourself at the beginning, like when I was reading this code at the beginning, it just didn't make any sense. And now I'm like pounding on it, trying to bend it so that it makes some sort of sense. Because while I was writing it, it made sense, but then it didn't make sense when I was maintaining it. But so new top found is false. We have not found a new top yet. While we have not found a new top, we're going to ask if the next row is available. And if it says yes, the next row is available, then we have found a new top. Okay, so I feel like we kind of have to put a little comment here. Okay, so a top becomes a row. And a row describes. So a top is a vertical position, right? Position. A row is the all of the objects. I was going to say stuff, but all the objects width and the top. Right? Like, so we can't, so we're saying, hey, I want a top, but the only way you're ever going to be able to determine if a top is available is by looking at the whole row. So we're asking, is this row available? And it's going to return yes or no, true or false, if the row is available. And if that row is available, then that means that top is fine. It is in fact the next available top. But if it wasn't, then it is we need to take the height of that visualization. And I don't even think that really makes sense because, yeah, see, this only makes sense at this point because all visualizations. So it's just sort of a side effect that we know that a row height. So another sort of, so now we're this variable is sort of doing double duty here because it is our top position. And then, and it is also, well, no, our top. So I guess it should be like this. it's kind of weird because basically what we want is we want, I'm just going to create a variable, a const row height, in hopes that this makes life make a little bit more sense in the future. Now, at some point, I'm 99% sure that we're going to want to be able to have different heights in the future. It's not a guarantee, though. Not always be true. Like, but for now, I think this is true, but how this manifests in the future, there's just no telling. Um, my guess is, if I had to guess, and then like if my guess, which I have maybe a 25% confidence, is that what we're going to do next would be like get row height and find the tallest one in the row, and that will be the height of the row. But then maybe at some point we'll say, well, is the height of this one less than the shortest one, and can it fit in there? And like this thing could get way more complicated. But at this point, we can't, there's no way we can effectively guess how that's going to be in the future. So we're just going to have to go with this. We know that we're going to have to come in and maintain this in the future and all of that. So yeah, because like basically what could happen, what I'm trying to say is, what could happen is maybe we'll have this one, maybe this one is really tall, like twice as tall as this one, and then we fill out the next two, and then we try to add one, and we don't want it to be the tallest one, below the tallest one. We want it to be fit in there since there's room for it, assuming it's the right width. But let's say it's twice as wide, well then we'd want it in this spot here. So like how all that shakes out in the future is like almost impossible to understand. Well, it's almost impossible to predict. We cannot predict how that's all going to shape in the future. So I don't know. And then maybe in that future time, I'll be happy that I understand it. All right, but I do think I understand this function better now. So I'm going to pass in a visualization. It's going to, okay, so we are using this get visualizations, which is just a very poor, like a single layer shim of the state. So I think so I created this get visualizations, and I think this get visualization is sort of designed to be used outside of this application, not inside this application. But it's using this get visualization, and it's getting that from the state, and then it's getting the viewport width. So I would rather whoever calls this pass in the visualizations in the viewport state so that we can become more pure. Now, one thing that, so when I was thinking about all this and I sort of wasn't as deep into this, I was thinking there's probably like a array method, array function that can do all this, that is sort of designed to do something along these lines. And there probably is, and it's probably that one reduce, but I don't know. And I don't, there's another layer, there's multiple layers, because with the viewport width and all that, and I'm not really comfortable enough with reduce, but I would like to get a lot more comfortable with it. So I don't think this is being used outside of this function, and I guess that is one of the major benefits to putting the word private in there, is if this says private, then what's nice about that is then I can then I just don't have to worry about, like, am I breaking something outside? But I don't even really have to worry about that because it wouldn't transpile if I broke something outside of here. But basically, this thing's only being used in one place, and it's right here. And what I'd like to do is pass in the viewport width and the visualizations. So I guess the first thing to do is, and I feel like I do this a lot. So here I just say visualizations. So I'm just going to go with that. this is of type st visualizations, and then viewport width. I'm guessing I passed that in, so let's see what I named it over here. All right, so now this accepts multiple things, and I think we should just, the whole point of it is to pass that in instead. But this is the important. Probably, well, both of those are super important. So if I save this, it's going to break. And it's going to be easy to see where it is. So that's just sort of a way to just use the, I believe this is this dot viewport width. Okay, we'll save that. And now let's go back to this, and we don't want to use visualizations. We want to use visualizations, and we want to use viewport width that we passed in. So all logic says that this should not have broke anything. I can't imagine how it would have broken anything, but it's so easy just to go check to see if it broke anything. And the easiest way, one way, is that we don't break any unit tests. So whatever was testing that is still testing that. We do know that this guy obviously doesn't, well, no, that probably works. So basically, I think, in my mind, the way we would know a unit test broke is by doing that. So so went to the next line, so it looks like that's still working. Now we're in a position to test this a lot easier. Or as they say in my domain, we are in a, what is the word they use? Yeah, position isn't the right way. We are in a, can't remember it. I wish I could. Right. And basically it finds the next position, right? It gets the next available top. And we pass in a function. And we know we need three things. We know we need the viewport width. Basically, we need all of these. Basically, we need everything, right? I think it's an identical. The signature is identical, right? They have the exact same. Well, no, this one, yeah, it gets the current visualization. It gets all, so I think this one has one more, right? So we have 3 arguments. Down here we have 4 arguments. So the only difference between this one and this one is that we get a row to start with. So, and really all we're aiming at right now is that we run it with the new stuff. So basically we want to make sure we have a visualization. We want to make sure we have a list of visualizations, and we want a viewport width. And I guess we want it to not be found. So we want more a width that's wider than the viewport width when you add them all up. I think that's right. So anyways, I think we want to copy all this and okay, so actually I just saw a little problem in here. It's not the end of the world, but row. Now, if we had done it the other way around, we probably would have got that function tested as a side effect, and that probably would have been good. But so in here it becomes top. And I don't know, I think we're gonna, and we get top. Let me close this, and then we want to get dot. And then we want to, what is it called? I can't even remember. Get next top. Get next available top. We want to get rid of this, and then we want to get rid of this. And then I think we want top to be 50. So basically, this is just a good time to think about this. This will not make sense in the future, I don't think. But basically, we're saying that the viewport is 150 wide. Right now, we're saying that there's 3 of them sitting at 0, and the last one is sitting at 150. So if we were to add another, it would not be on the screen. And then we have one sitting at 50, at the top of 50, which is the height of these things. Oh, I think I do need a height. Need to add, so yeah, they need a height. They don't all need heights, but the current mock-viz needs a height. But if we're going to do that, and one of the things that we have assumed is that they'll all be the same height. And I don't think this one cares about the renderer ID, but it will help when it calls the other ones. So I think, well, let's not, I don't really, I think it's easier to think in terms of getting coverage and then testing separate, at least at this phase in my sort of unit test journey. So I'm just going to comment out our expectation, our specification, and hope that this thing, I'm pretty sure this thing will get covered now. So the new top did not get found, and we actually have a bug. It says it should only be used to describe the function. Oh, looks like I did something really weird here. Looks like I did something really, really weird. Don't know what I did. Okay, so I'm going to copy this because I feel like this test is right, but I think I must have pasted something in the wrong place or something. Now I'm just Control Zing back to the last stable. Oh, I see what I did. So it looks like I did that, and then I pasted the whole test inside of the test. Okay, so that is happy again. So I think I could just paste this, because I believe the whole test is in here. As you can tell, I was a little bit stressed about that. So I think the top should be 50, right? Because we have 3 at 0 and 1 at 50, and its left, well, oh, its left is at 100. We really want its left to be at 0. And I think I want it that way over here too. And it is kind of weird because I actually do think that, yeah, I'm wondering if that actually broke it. It's not broken though in real life, I don't think. I think we tested it. Yeah, this doesn't think we even made any changes. So I believe the top should be at 50. Expect top to equal 50. And let's see where we're at. So we only changed the spec, so that didn't actually break anything. All right, so yeah, that is working. That makes sense to me. It is weird to me because I would think that, okay, so we know this is working because it's like, didn't even think that we made any changes that mattered. But I would think that if the left was 100, that then well, actually, I guess we didn't check the top. So I would think that the top will be, yeah, see, I feel like the top should be 100. And I feel like I could spend like the next 2 hours trying to run down why this doesn't work the way I think it should work. And then, oh, oh, that's why. Oh, this, no, this, okay, I did the wrong one because it doesn't care about the current one. Um, so I would think that the next top should be 100 in this situation because basically what we're emulating here is having all of these and then one over here. Oh, okay, that's good. That actually, yep, okay, yeah, it did exactly what I wanted it to do. So that is good. That makes me happy. I was a little nervous if that didn't work the way I was expecting. Thought I never would have had in a million years if I hadn't been doing unit tests. I don't know if that was a good thought or not. You know, we spent 5 minutes on that. 5 minutes that could have been used for other stuff. I'm a little bit more validated. I don't know. I just don't even know. All right, so we got another branch. We're at 97.22, so we got 4 statements not covered. We got 2 branches not covered, and we have 1 function not covered. And I'm assuming this is the 1 function that's not covered. It's kind of weird, though. Maybe not. So actually, it looks like we are, well, okay, so I don't know which one of these functions. It's either get, oh, no, oh, okay. It's either upsert viz for component or get viz component, I'm guessing. It is kind of weird that the whole, maybe it's this existing visualizations viz component. No, that's not a function. Viz component set as initialized. It is weird that a whole, it says that there's a function that's not covered, but we don't see a red function anywhere. So I don't really understand why we have a function that is not covered. You would think one of these guys would have a red line next to it if, but anyway, so we have this branch. It looks like get viz for component is our next, going to be our next thing. And as far as I can tell, that's going to take an entire session to get this one function unit tested. It's going to take an entire session. Again, we have to really ask ourselves the hard question: is it worth it? Is a whole session to unit test this one function worth it? Probably not. But we do get to ask ourselves, does for each make sense? And I do not think for each makes sense. Now that I've sort of had this sort of epiphany in my brain, for each doesn't make sense at all because we're not trying to, basically in this case I'm using for each as a glorified for statement. But for each really shouldn't be used to this. It looks like what I want is to, it looks like I'm trying to do 2 things here. One, I'm trying to find the visualization that I have a list. I want to find the one that has the same input ID. And then looks like number two, the second thing I want to do is I want um, to extract the visualization from that one. I want to get a reference. I want to get a reference to it. That's a whole chain of thoughts. I think it's a great chain of thoughts. I'm really glad I went through it. I think I'm a better developer because I went through that chain of thoughts. Now there's another chain of thoughts as well. It's like I am going to the viz component and I am hitting the renderer ID. Like uh, I'm I'm trying to get to a function. So it looks like what I'm going to want to do is I don't even know. Do I have a viz component in here in my unit test right now? So I import the whole viz component class. Oh, and I do actually create a mock visualization that has a viz component on it. So is that what I want to do? Like make a bunch of these? The thing is with my viz component is I actually, well, in my mock, I'm actually going to want to have a uh, st render input ID function to sort of that it can run to check to see if it's the same one. Let's see what else we have. Yeah, see, we do some pretty crazy stuff over here to try to create a new visualization. Viz component. Should set up a DOM visualization. Here's where we create a spy. And I guess it does make sense that now we're sort of like we were creating a bunch of functions that sort of we could look at the ones or tests that we could look at the ones right before it. And now we're kind of at a higher level because we worked our way up. Um, get first empty visualization. Is too wide. Based on renderer. So this kind of seems like it does something. It filters visualizations based on the renderer ID, and here we use the renderer ID. And we actually set renderer IDs. So it seems like we want to maybe build on this one. Um, remove a visualization based on the ID. Enter the value between. And it looks like here's where we ended up moving into sort of a whole different world of positioning. So like before, it seems like this is get a visualization for a component. Everything after this seems to be more about like positioning and stuff like that. So it looks like we're probably going to want to be right here. We're going to want to test our visualization. Test get viz. For component. And I think there's such a good chance that like tomorrow morning I won't remember this. And so I guess I want to kind of create an empty test here. So that, I don't forget this. Gets a visualization for a component. Tomorrow will be Monday morning, and so I will probably be in a, just a whole different mindset than I am right now. It is Sunday right now at 11 o'clock in the morning. Um, and all we really want to do is create a mock viz. I think our mock viz needs to be a little bit better than this one, but wow, so we actually created a render sequence and everything up here. So I don't even think I care about the viewport width on this one, but I do want the viz component, right? So I'm just going to create my viz component and just see what happens if I pass it to the, and then const. What does that return? It will return an st or undefined. Do I already have viz is equal to, and it is a st viz. I just kind of wanted to set myself up for success in the morning. Get viz component, and then viz. I think it's upset because it could be or undefined, right? Because up here we said that it may return nothing. So now basically what I'm hoping for is, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm wondering if that function will get picked up, because I don't understand why it's showing one function missing. But let me hit save and see. Nope, we still are missing one function. Hit refresh and see if anything good happened. Nothing happened. So I don't know what that one function is, and I don't see how we can even figure out what the one function is. I mean, it's showing only the only function missing is this one, right? They're all 100%, and we click in here, and then like it'd be nice if we could see like a list of functions or something. We click in here and we do not see anything that indicates that there's, but oh, maybe, oh, this is the function. It's an anonymous function. It's this guy right here. Okay, that makes sense. And I did think that I do want to refactor this to not be a for each anymore. I want it to be a find. And that's the thing is it's using this. So I want to change this. So yeah, we're sort of going through a pattern. So I want to pass in the visualizations, and I actually have a function that will return all the visualizations. So wherever this get viz for component gets called, I want to actually pass that. And it wouldn't surprise me if this one is actually handled outside of the application. I mean, it gets called outside of, no, okay, so it only gets called in here. It gets called up here on line 98. So here on line 98, we're going to want to pass in also the visualizations. We're going to want to do a this.visualizations, and it may end up breaking the this upsert test. We might lose ground on that. Who knows? Probably not. Actually, it's getting called, so it'll still get called. And I think what I want to do, and who knows what I'll be thinking tomorrow morning, but what I want to do is change this into a find, and for it to find the one where these matches, and then once if it finds, and it'll be, I think find returns an object or undefined. And I'm curious. JS for arrays. What does find return? The first element that satisfies that, or an undefined. So basically, so the signature won't change at all, or the result, what it results, won't change at all, and and it actually returns the whole. So actually, I can replace this with a find and just return whatever it finds. Um, but I'm gonna want to change this so that it. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna want to change this so that I return, so that I pass in the this visualizations, and um, and then I could probably just say equals st visualization equals this, the find, whatever the result from the find, and then return it. And it could be just one line, but I think I would rather have 2 lines, just because I think it'll make it a little easier to understand. And that will be tomorrow. And that wasn't actually like, I think that sort of whole set of thoughts probably, like, that took me, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. I think the first time I sort of worked through that maybe a month ago in this, or maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe 3 months ago. I don't know. Probably took me like 4 sessions, and now I got there in 5 minutes. Um, and I think that I can actually speak to it. I feel like I've done this plenty of times in pull requests, and people have been like, uh, "Please don't use for each," and then I'll be like, "Why?" And they'll just be like, "I don't know," and we'll go back and forth, and we end up just staying with for each. And I feel like I can actually say in words, for each is something that you're supposed to do for each of them. That's why they named it for each. Um, you're not trying to do something for each of them. What you really want to do here is find something. You're trying to find where these visualizations match, and you want either a ST visualization or undefined, and that's exactly what the find method in arrays does for you. Um, so, and then I guess what we'll do is we'll create a little function that takes a visualization and returns these, and then we won't even have to. Then that function will call directly from unit tests and test it directly, that it just does this, and that's going to be so much easier to unit test. And then we'll and then this one will, it'll automate, as long as it has a list of visualizations, it'll get marked as 100%. And then that one will be very easy because all it's testing is that one function, and then we'll be down to this one. And so I think that entire process is probably going to take 3 sessions, maybe 2 sessions, of sort of refactoring this to use, sort of more modern implementations, not implementations that are based in stuff that was written in the 1970s, like, um, so that'll be good, And obviously, I would never say that to somebody, like, hey, this is sort of implementations that are, that, there's got to be a better way to say that isn't quite so, triggering. But, anyways, that's where we're at. Spent a lot of time on unit tests. We're inching forward second by second, inch by inch, and hopefully we're so close. We're only 2 branches away, one function away, and 4 lines of code away from being 100%. There's going to be a refactor for this one. I have no idea. I don't even want to think about that one yet. We're going to do a refactor on this. We're going to pull this function out. We're going to, instead of using for each, we're going to use find to find stuff, and the get visualization component. This function will work as is. I mean, we're going to need to refactor it to purify it so that we can get this list here. So we don't have to go to this service attribute to get information. We'll just have it, and then we can run this, and we can speak to it. We have the words to explain why why to not use for each and why to use find instead. And that's where we're at. I'm about to work on my voice. That I don't know. Like if you watch how that one's progressing, it is progressing literally. I think it's literally 20 to 30 times faster. And the biggest reason is because there's no unit tests in it. So, and it has all of these issues, all of these blemishes that I'm finding and that I'm cleaning up in this application. It has all those, but it works like a charm. So you got to think on that. Like, is it, what are we trying to do here? You're not sure exactly what we're trying to do. Nice. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.